Hi, and welcome to the channel. I hope you're ready to feel good today. This is going to be a slow-paced yoga flow designed to mainly stretch and work into the shoulders and also into the wrists. So we'll have a little time spent on each movement today, so we have time to breathe into it and allow the muscles to relax and just to feel our way into the pose, and so we can tell what areas of our body need a little bit extra hold and a little bit extra care for us today. Let's go ahead and come onto our mats. We're going to start in a hero pose, so sitting on your shins. The toes are untucked to begin with, and we're just going to start here just for a moment, just to relax and to settle in. Allow the eyes to close and just check in with yourself. Do a quick scan of the body. The crown nice and tall, sitting up straight, so our spine feels nice and long from head to tail. Allow the shoulders to start to begin their journey so they can relax and feel them maybe just create a little bit more space between the shoulders and the ears. Use your breath today. We'll just allow the breath to be normal. We don't need to force any inhales or exhales. Just recognizing the breath and returning to it so that we can find our way towards stillness and hold the poses. You can stay in this hero pose, but if you would like to take it up a little notch, you can tuck the toes. Check to make sure you also have that little pinky toe and have that one tucked underneath you as well. And then sit back onto the heels once more. Maybe coming to sit straight up. If that's intense for you, you can also lean slightly forward and maybe be on the fingertips or have a block in front of you to bring the earth a little bit closer. Staying here just for a few breaths. Use your breath to send yourself a signal that it is okay for the muscles to relax. You can do this. You can stay in the pose. We're going to hold this for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Let's lean forward. Bring the hands to the mat. We'll go ahead and untuck the toes and just give them a very gentle wrap against the mat. Maybe wiggle the toes a little bit. And then we're going to sit back on the heels once more. We're going to start with some of our wrist exercises. So this is always a good warm-up, especially if you're practicing a lot of arm balances, or even if you are like me or really anyone who is on the keyboard a lot or on the phone a lot, and you need to start to pay attention to the wrists and the forearms to give those muscles more tenderness and more kindness throughout our daily processes, because you'll find that everything is going to start to want to have one position, and it's going to be this curl in position more often, and trying to stretch out the fingers and wrists might feel very intense at first. So as we do these poses, let's take our time and be gentle. We're going to begin by just lifting up off the heels slightly and then pointing the fingertips so they're facing back at you. And choice is up to you if you want to keep all the fingers together or if you want to have the fingers spread apart. Again, feel it out, see what feels best for you. And you can just start here with the fingertips facing back at your body. If it feels okay, you can start to lower the hips back down towards the heels. And you notice this, of course, makes this a much deeper stretch onto the backside of those wrists. Holding here. You can also adjust how intense this is by how close your hands are towards your knees. A little bit closer will make it slightly easier. Bending into the elbows will intensify the stretch. Awesome. And when you're ready, let's go ahead and flip those hands around. So now the fingertips are still pointing back at your body, but this time we're going to have the top of the hands on the mat. Maybe start with the glutes lifted off of the heels, and then maybe start to sink back just slightly so you can feel a stretch into the top of the wrists and into the forearms. And you can slowly release. Let's shake out those wrists. And I'm going to turn around to face you so you can see this next stretch a little bit better. From here, let's take the hands to heart center and lift the elbows up so that the elbows are about even with the wrists. For this stretch, we're going to start by just slowly keeping the elbows where they're at, but we're going to lower the wrists. And keep lowering until you start to feel a nice stretch. You'll feel it into the fingers. You'll feel it into the wrists. And then maybe at some point, maybe you can't go any lower with the wrists. Hold here. And now I want you to start to press the hands into one another. Start to push the heels together. Start to push into the fingers so that you have index finger pressing into the other opposite index finger. The middle finger, the ring finger, even that pinky, our smallest, maybe the weakest of all the fingers. Feel everything light up. And then press, press, press for 3, 2, 1. Relax. And just allow those wrists to continue to dip below the elbows. And then we'll start to lift the wrists up so that they're approximately even with the elbows again. This time we're going to change the hand position and we're going to bring the back of the hands together. So now the wrists are kissing together and the fingers are pointing down. So from here, again, we're going to have the wrists starting even with the elbows, but this time we're going to start to lift the wrists upward toward the sky just slightly. So now you have just a very slight diagonal. You're going to start to feel this again into the top of the wrists. And now if you're up for it, let's start to press the hands into one another, feeling the back of the hands press. Maybe feel the fingers press into one another. It's a much different feeling, more of a challenge, pressing in this direction versus pressing the palms of the hands together. Keep breathing. And we'll hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go ahead and release the hands out. Give them a little bit of a shake. It's a really nice and quick warm-up for the wrists that you really could do at your desk or any time throughout the day. We're going to move into our shoulders. So for this, let's go ahead and come into a tabletop position. And if you have blocks with you, that would be great. We can open up a little bit more deeply. From your tabletop position, we are going to walk the hands out and come into this very nice and open puppy pose. So dropping the chest down towards the mat, maybe have the forehead planted down onto the mat, but still feel the chest sinking heavily. Or you can gaze up and open up so that your chin is resting onto the mat. That is definitely more of a challenge. I'll be in this position mostly so that I can talk into the mic a little bit more easily. And you may notice that I am up on my fingertips. This also gives me a little bit more depth into my shoulders, a little bit more opening. You can still have your fingertips flat on the earth. Your other option in your puppy pose is also to have some blocks placed in front of you. So you can have 2 blocks, adjust as you need, and then place the elbows and the upper arms onto the blocks. It might take a little bit of adjustment. Here we're creating a little bit more space. The arms are even more lifted than what I could do with my fingertips. And then we're going to allow the chest still to sink down and feel heavy. Maybe take the hands together in a prayer shape and bring them back to the back of your head, almost like a little shark fin. And we'll hold here in our puppy pose for about 1 minute. Encourage the stretch by keeping the chest pushing down, reaching for the mat. And also at the same time, think about drawing the navel in towards the back of the spine. So we're not just allowing the belly to sag. You kind of have these two opposing forces with the chest pulling down and the navel drawing up. Slowly start to push yourself up and out of your puppy pose. If you had blocks, let's just set them aside so that they're out of the way for the moment. And then from this tabletop position, we're going to lower ourselves down once more, but this time we're going to draw that right arm underneath the left, and now our right side of our face just comes to meet the mat. So our hips and our knees are still in the same position as they were in puppy, but we have this nice twist going on in the upper body, and the back of the right arm is alongside the mat. So if we want to increase this stretch, I encourage you to play along and try to find different methods of how to use your left arm to change the stretch. It can come out at a nice diagonal, and maybe you feel that a little bit more on the back of the right shoulder. If you'd like, you can also have it just coming out directly to reach for the top of the mat. Or you can also take that left arm, wrap it around the right side, maybe bring it into that inner right thigh for a bind. And for this position, you will feel more of intensity and an opening into the chest. At the same time, you can also push that right hand and the upper edge of your right arm into the mat and feel yourself opening a little bit more. And when you're ready, you can release the bind. We're going to use that left hand to push into the mat, bring ourselves up into a tabletop position, and then slowly start to walk ourselves out so that we come onto our belly. Another stretch here for your right arm is a very easy stretch. We're going to take the right arm once more and snake it underneath that left arm. So now I will sit up and show you so you can see it a little bit more easily. My right arm will be at a diagonal, just coming across my chest like this. And I'm going to lower my torso so that I'm fully reclined on top of my right arm. Again, play around with the position, because if you like how it feels like this, you may also like how it feels a little bit higher and coming across the chest, and feel that stretch into the top of the right arm. Wherever you feel tight, come into that position. We're going to hold for about 1 or 2 minutes. And the head can either just come onto the right side of the head if that feels comfortable. You can have a nice blanket rolled up here, or you can just come onto your forehead. And just use your body weight to create a little compression into that right bicep and tricep. Allow the right fingers just to relax. On an inhale, use your left arm and hand just to push yourself up and to snake that right arm out from underneath you. We're going to come into a more intense shoulder opener on the right side. I'm going to move my blocks just so that they are slightly out of the way. Again, the shape of the right arm is totally up to you. You can either have your arm in a goalpost position or have it straight out into a T shape. So from this, we're going to lower down onto our chest. And now that right arm, take the position that you feel will suit you best for opening into the front of your right shoulder. I'm going to keep mine into a cactus shape. That's where I feel most of my intensity when I come into this shoulder opener. And then from here, you can take that left hand just next to that left shoulder, push into the mat, and then start to roll onto the outside of the right hip. Maybe even swinging that left foot up and behind you so that you have a little bit of a tripod kickstand. And then you can hold here in this pose for as long as you need. And for any of these poses, you can always hit the pause button if you need to hold it a bit longer. That's the beauty of these nice stretches. This could easily be a yin yoga class for an hour where you could hold many of these shapes for up to 5 minutes, or as long as you feel you can hold the intensity and maintain your stillness. But for now, we're just going to take a nice stretch, make it a good stretch out kind of class. And when you're ready, we're going to slowly come back onto our bellies. Come up into a sphinx just for a moment. Maybe widen out the feet. Press into the hands, lift the chest, take a nice inhale. Then exhale, we're going to lower down, take the hands underneath the shoulders, and we're going to push ourselves back into a tabletop position. We're going to take all of those stretches onto the opposite side, starting with our puppy pose. So you can try a different variation of your puppy if you would like the upper arms up on your blocks, or if you would like to just keep it down on the mat with the forehead down on the mat, wherever you feel the best today. So again, the hips are over the knees. And maybe setting up your blocks or starting to walk the hands out long in front of you. And we're going to allow the chest to just relax. Keep the navel slightly tucked. Feel the chest pushing towards the earth. Create this opposing action. And then feel the underside of both of the shoulders just stretch. We'll hold for 3 more breaths. And when you're ready, push yourself up. Set the blocks to the side. And we're going to work into that left arm and shoulder. So from here, again, we're in tabletop. This time we're going to slide the left arm underneath the right and bring the left side of the face towards the mat. Move that right hand around. Maybe you want it coming out, reaching towards the top of the mat. Push into the mat using both the back of your left arm and using the effort of the right hand. So you can open up through the back, open through the traps. Maybe if you would like a bit more of a chest opener, by keeping that right shoulder open and pulled more towards the sky, you can bring the right hand and wrap it around the inside of the left thigh. Continue to breathe. Again, normal breath. A lot of times when we do these stretches, it is just a habit to hold our breath. You'll come into the pose and the stretch a lot more deeply if you learn to just keep using that breath and find the areas that have the most tension. Send the breath there and guide that energy so that you can open up a little bit more deeply. When you're ready, unravel if you had the bind. Place that right hand onto the mat. And we're going to just lift back up into our tabletop. And then from here, we'll snake our way back down onto the earth. And we're going to take that arm across the body, and we're going to, I don't know what's a great name for this, maybe just smush that left arm so that we create a nice pressure across the upper bicep and tricep. So again, feel your way if you want more of a diagonal, or if you want the left arm to be maybe more straight across the upper body. Whatever feels good. Your yoga is all about finding your happy and what works for you. Holding the pose for 3 more breaths. And then to come up and out of this pose, you can press into the earth with your right hand and then bring that left arm out from underneath you. And now again, we're going to take that deep shoulder opener into the front of the left shoulder. So choose whether you want cactus arms or arms straight out at a T shape. I'm going to go for the cactus shape. Come onto the left side of my face as I just slowly lower onto the mat, and then maybe press into the earth with the right hand so I can roll over onto the outside of that left hip. Right hip or the right foot comes behind me just for support. And then if I want to feel this more deeply into that front side of the left shoulder, I'll press more into the earth with my right hand. So these poses are not completely still. There is activity. It's not quite obvious to the naked eye, but you are pressing and using your body's leverage just to make yourself feel the intensity of the pose a little bit more. We want to feel something. We don't want to just fall and relax deeply into the stretch. We want to have some sort of edge, nothing that's sharp or painful, but we want to have a sensation there in the front of the shoulder. And when you're ready, we're going to start to slowly release, come back onto the belly, and maybe pause in our Sphinx pose just for a moment. You can rock the hips back and forth, open up the feet, lift the chest, maybe close the eyes, take a nice deep breath, and exhale it out. On the next inhale, let's put the hands underneath the shoulders, press into the mat as we come back into our tabletop position once more. We're going to take just a few openings in our tabletop position. So keep the left hand planted onto the earth, and we're just going to open up the right arm to the sky. As we rotate, maybe bring the gaze up towards the ceiling, and then bring the right hand back down to the mat. Let's take that towards the opposite side. Press into the mat with the right hand, opening up through the chest, rotating. And then bring it back down. Once more, right side. Inhale, opening it up, left side. Exhale it down. Inhale it up, right side. Exhale it down. Opening on the left. And then coming back to neutral. Very good. From here, we're going to set up for our shoelace pose. So you could use a block if you want to have a block to sit on. Keep it nearby. From your tabletop, let's just take that right knee more towards the center of the mat, and then lift the left knee so that now the legs are crossed. Open up the feet, and then start to sit the hips back so that we are coming into shoelace pose. Again, if you want to have a block, you could plop it or pop it underneath your bum so that you have something to sit on and be a little bit higher. This can be pretty intense on the hips and the knees. If you are in your shoelace pose, just check that your knees are mostly in alignment. They can be slightly off, but we aren't looking for perfection. We're looking for a sensation. And so we want to have that sensation in the outside of the hips. We are still going to work into the shoulders, but since we're sitting here, we might as well get a 2-for-1 and feel something in our lower body as well. Now with the right knee stacked on top, we're going to lift that left arm up into the sky and bring the palm of the left hand in between the shoulder blades. And you'll probably find it's quite evident in your Gomukhasana or cow face arms that we're about to take that one side will be a lot more tight than the other. Now your right arm is going to come behind you and the back of the hand is going to come into between the shoulder blades. Maybe you can wiggle the hands together. Maybe you can take a hold of the fingertips. If you cannot reach the fingertips, you could also use a strap or maybe even grab onto your bra straps if that's comfortable. And we're going to hold here and breathe. Nice, even breaths. Inhale through the nose and exhale it out. One caution with your using your cow face arms, we don't want to have the top elbow pressing into the head and forcing the head downward. If you can, keep that left elbow lifted and reaching towards the back of the room so that you can sit up nice and straight. Slowly release the hands, release the arms. And from here, we're going to shift forward, coming back into our tabletop position. And we'll take those rotations in our tabletop once more. This time we'll start with the left hand. And let's lift the left hand up towards the ceiling. Exhale it down towards the mat. Inhale the right arm up. Reach, stretch, opening up through the front side of the chest. Exhale it down. Inhale, open. Exhale, return to the mat. Inhale, open. Exhale, return it down to the mat. Very good. Now we're going to take our cow face arms on the opposite side. This time bring the left knee more into the center line. Then lift that right knee up, cross it over the left. So now we have a nice cross leg position. And then we're going to sink the hips back so that they come in between the feet. Of course, grab a block if you want to sit down on your block. Adjust the position of the feet. If they're more out and further away from the body, it's going to be more intense onto the hips. Sitting up nice and tall, and so that our weight is evenly balanced on the sit bones. This time, our right hand is going to come up, and the palm of the right hand is going to come in between the shoulder blades. And then take that left hand, swing it back around so that the back side of the left hand comes to maybe meet the right fingertips and join. Open up through that right elbow so you're still opening into the front side of that right shoulder, sitting up nice and tall so that the upper arm is not pushing the head down towards the earth. And keeping that navel drawn in. One tendency to have this cow face arms and also our shoelace legs. There is a tendency to just allow the belly to just kind of hang out, but we want to keep that navel still drawn in, staying strong through the core and protecting the lower back. Three more breaths. And then release the hands. You can bring the fingertips behind you, and we're going to unravel the legs. Take a moment if you want to take a couple of windshield wiper of the legs. That wasn't just a lot on the upper arms, but you probably felt it quite a bit into your hips. And now we're going to move into probably one of my favorites, and it's quite intense as far as opening into the shoulders, but we're going to just start here with our fingertips just behind the hips and then the soles of our feet flat on the earth. You can maybe walk them out just a little bit further away from you. And then from here, let's press into the mat and lift up the hips and bring those hips closer towards the heels. As you do so, you're going to feel the front caps of the shoulders start to feel a nice big stretch onto those shoulders. And then make this even more deep by bending into your elbows and perhaps rounding into the spine, drawing the navel in. Play around with the distances. Maybe you can go a little bit closer, hips towards the heels. Maybe you can bend the elbows a little bit more. And really, you could also extend the legs out long and fully control this by how deeply you are bending into the elbows. If your legs were extended, let's go ahead and start to bring those feet back in so that they're supporting us. Maybe lift the hips up so you can take some of that stretch out of the shoulders, kind of give them a little bit of a release. Sit up tall just for a moment, and then we're going to roll down onto our backs. Preparing here for our plow pose. You can take many different variations in your plow, just like you can in anything else, but let's start by lifting up the hips, using the hands to maybe guide our hips and our legs up overhead. You can certainly have the knees totally bent, or if you want to play around with maybe straightening the legs, pushing into the heels, using the hands for support at the low back. Or you can also begin to draw the hands together, maybe interlace the fingers and press into the mat with the upper arms. You might find that this allows you to bring the hips a little bit higher. But notice as I'm doing this, I can still fully visit and talk with you without restricting my throat. I still have a nice space through the back of my neck and also into the front of my throat, so I'm not compressing down. If you feel like there is too much tension here when you're in your plow pose and you're feeling it much too much into your neck, I would suggest using bridge pose as your alternative. When you're ready, you can release the interlace of the fingers if you had it. Use the hands to guide the hips down towards the earth. Maybe bend the knees. Allow them to come along each side of the face. And just come onto your back. Slowly, we'll come onto our sides and come up to a seated position. Come into easy seat, so just a simple cross-legged position. You can decide which leg is in front of the other. It doesn't really matter. We're going to end the sequence here today with just a very simple opening into the shoulders and the arms. So let's start with our hands together in prayer pose, just a little slight tuck of the chin. Then interlace the fingers. We're going to flip the palms out so they're facing away from us. Stretching out the arms, start to curl the tailbone in, and then draw the navel in, separate the shoulders out wide as we push through the hands, and then start to lift the hands up to the sky. Palms are still facing out. Maybe gazing up. Keep that navel drawn in so that we're not just allowing ourselves to fall into the lower back. Separate the hands slowly. Draw them behind the back. Again, interlacing the fingers. So now the palms are together, and we're going to lift the hands away from the body. Draw the knuckles down towards the earth. Lift the center of the chest towards the sky. Inhale, and then slowly release the hands. Open up the palms like you have two giant beach balls in the palms of the hands, and then bring the arms back. Kind of start to bend the elbows slightly so they're drawing in towards the ribs, still lifting the chest. And then we'll release, draw the hands together back into prayer once more. Let's take that sequence 2 more times through. Again, interlace the fingers. Push the palms out away from you. Tuck the tailbone. Separate the shoulders. On an inhale, let's lift the palms up to the sky. Maybe gaze up. Draw the upper arms. Maybe can you bring them back just slightly behind the ears? Separate the fingers. Bring them back behind you. Interlace them once more so that the hands are drawing down and together. Feel the knuckles draw back towards the earth as you lift up the center of the chest towards the sky. And then from here, we're going to release the hands, but then open up the palms so that they lift just slightly upward, bending into the elbows, still lifting into the chest. Feel the shoulders drop down and alongside the back. And then bring the hands back to heart center. One last time. Interlace the fingers. Press the palms away from you. Tuck the tailbone. Rounding into the upper back. Lift the hands up towards the sky. Sit up tall. Maybe gaze up. Let's really, really press out through those palms. Separate the fingers. Draw them back behind you. Maybe change the lacing of the fingers so the opposite thumb is on top. And this time we're going to still lift those hands away from the body. Draw the knuckles down, opening up through the chest. Separating the fingers. Taking the hands out like you have 2 big beach balls in each hand. Draw the elbows in towards the ribs. Pull the shoulders down. And then release. Bring it back to heart center. The palms come to prayer. Just a simple tuck of the chin. We'll take a couple of breaths here to relax. Check in with the body. Notice the sensations that you're feeling. Are you feeling the energy run from the fingertips through the shoulders? Are you feeling the warmth that we created from fingertips all the way through your shoulders? Enjoy this energetic release. And when you're ready, we're going to slowly open the eyes. You can release the hands down towards the knees. As always, thanks for showing up at my channel, and please hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this, and hit the like button or comment and let me know if you have any suggestions or any fun things that you would like to see on the channel. I'd love to hear them. Have a great day. Make it a good one. Bye.